competition surfing. Rashes. Oh, yeah. Baby, I can't get enough. Blitz. I think that surf presents
Pure Tour Nerdism. Yes, welcome to Blitzed, Pure Tour Nerdism. The Tahiti Pros, a wrap rinsed corn, and it was almost off the shat rating Richter scale. I gave it a full 5 out of 5. S for skits, H for hamad, A for, are you kidding me? And T for torture. The quality of the waves from start to finish, 2 swells in a 10-day window. It's just so rare to kick it off on the backside of a Code Brown swell and finishing it in a rising, pulsing ocean with light variable winds. It's as good as it gets. I'm claiming full karma for tacking back to the Dream Tour lineage for seen by the great visionary Bhagwan. And second only to the cons in this were the storylines at play. Like so many gripping narratives, it was as tense as it gets and featured, you wouldn't believe it, would ya, another high-pressure clinic from the Vortex, Sharman, Jack Robbo. He needed to win the event to clinch a spot in the final 5, and that's exactly what he did. And in all honesty, he did it in a fucking canter on finals day. He walked straight through the Colapinto brothers in the semis and the finals. And on the other side of the draw, the Pickle, Molly Pickle, absolutely lapped the field on finals day as well. One of the most dominant displays of tube riding we've seen in women's surfing. Dropped a handful of 9s. Absolutely pantsed Katie Simmers in the final. She was technically sublime, absolutely feeling it. When confidence meets peak performance, you get Molly Picklum at Chopes. We'll get into some of her waves shortly, but mate, the storylines, they just kept coming. Ethan Ewing had it all to do and put in what I thought was one of the best performances of his career, getting done just by a hair. In, I think it was the quarters against Griffin in a heat that decided the final 5. He reminded me a lot of Fanning in this event in that, you know, sand bottom point break guy who put his shoulder to the grindstone to get his head around one of the most intimidating prospects in surfing in Chopes. And now he's there. He's a legit threat out there. He's put his time in. He's paid his dues. And, mate, he paid his dues big time. He was there for the Code Brown, Code Red swell alongside Griff, both of them putting their time in to get the read and just get a bit more comfortability at this venue. The event started before the event for those two guys. They were swinging the hammer so hard. And, yeah, ultimately, you know, Griff swung it a bit harder in those warm-up surfs, and it showed. Vorno, what did you make of this event?
Oh, mate, thank you so much, Smithy. 5 out of 5, straight 5s, perfect score on the chat rating from me too, mate. And what a bewitching cosmic banquet of mortal cones gifted to us long-suffering surf fans at this event. We just gorged our insatiable cornholes with cones of mortal cone, Smithy. And what a fitting way to wrap a pretty awesome year, mate. I mean, I can't help but feel like we might be responsible for this, mate. The karmic cup-uppance of which you speak. I don't know what it was, man. The resurrection of pro surfing. Is it simply that by watering the seeds of our core garden all these years, the plantation has come to fruition and we've both reaped what we have sowed, Smithy, after years and years of just sticking to what we knew we wanted, calling out when we needed to call out, and just, I don't know, maybe just putting it out there, mate. But as you say, you know, the great spiritual leader, the Bhagwan, he had dreams of the Dream Tour. Those dreams have come to be realised, mate. And, you know, I have to say, those storylines that we're talking about here, I wonder if they will still be there next year. Because as much as the surfers on tour hate the cut and, you know, have suffered the indignity, the humiliation of missing the cut, getting half a year on tour after all that toil on the Chang or whatever, it just breeds this sort of like mesmerizing, like go for it attitude in the heaviest wave on earth, other than the pipe, on tour at least. And the performances were just out of this world, mate. Like that day one is one of the best spectacles. It's up there with the Olympics, you know, second last day for me as in terms of just a spectacle. The storylines were just all over the shop. You couldn't peel your eyes off the screen, man. They were just stuck to it like mozzies on a windscreen at 180 clicks an hour down the M1. Just full blown eyeballs splattered all over the screen there, and it was just such a wonderful thing to watch. Just highlights thicker than Ethan Hewing's fillety glutes, mate. Like just the peach was well and truly throbbing, and I just felt like, I just felt so pumped up on pro surfing by the end of it, man. It was such a great comp to watch, and it really, as we lead into this final five, I think it's fair to say that the five surfers who have stood out the most this year have qualified. Like that's absolutely true. I know that Barron, Connor, and Cole and Phil, they all won events, but they just didn't have the consistency that the top five had. Like the top five really did surf on another level. You cannot deny the Vortex Sharman in those sorts of waves. Like it would have been criminal for him to miss out on Fiji. Griffin is just building like a rampaging bull, dude. Like he's just so in the zone at the moment, and he just gets better and better and better. I think for Ethan and Kanoa, like they just couldn't find that next level. Like they haven't found that next gear yet. Like, and it's got nothing to do with like not understanding the waves or whatever. It's just that those five guys who are in the top five, Smithy, are just by far and away got that extra bit of energy and do what it takes to get the wins. Phil was kind of only half interested in this event, but felt like to me, like he kind of had a minor dig on one day there. But it's just so cool to get to the end of the year and feel like the five best surfers are going to be there in Fiji. And it's exactly the same with the women's. Like unlucky probably for Isabella Nichols, just because she did surfing this year that I felt warranted a spot in the finals. But at the end of the day, you look at the surfers who are there, and the only person you'd sort of replace in that top five is maybe Carolyn Marks, just because her surfing hasn't been to the standard that we usually see from her. Like she's not getting excellence and stuff. But yeah, all in all, man, what a spectacle and what a way to decide the final five, man. Like the wipeouts, the commitment, the tube riding, and then just for Australia in particular, just seeing the Vortex Sharman and the Pickle get it done. Oh yeah, bring that. Get that up, you Smithy.
Mate, before we get into highlights from the event, let's just touch on a few highlights from before the event, namely what Griffin Colapinto was doing during that swell, because I don't think I've seen a CT competitor send it that hard in those kinds of conditions on the eve of what was such an important contest. Turned out to be a master strategy for him because, when you're pin dropping out of the lip of 10-foot plus code brown, code red double ups, just a casual 10 to 8 foot competitive day at Chopes. It's a walk in the park, mate, and that's kind of what it earned him. And it was actually a masterful maneuver, because it is a bit like that. If you are risking it for the biscuit in conditions that mortally consequential, when it tapers off a little bit, suddenly that's, almost, I wouldn't say playful, but it enters the realms of doable much more. Some of the shit he was doing, man, in that warm-up surf, unbelievable. Like pin dropping on tow waves. He got caught inside on a proper, 15-foot tow wave that was ridden by Eli Olsen. He got stuck in the lip. Griffin did. Might have even been sucked back over. I'm not too sure. But, mate, it was a cosmic performance in the lead up, because I think it really is what just gave him that little edge to get past Ethan. Ethan was there during those sessions, but did not send it to a degree that Griffin was. Just some wild scenes on the eve of the competition starting.
Yeah. And I think what it really screamed out was the difference between people who are there just wanting it, wanting those waves. Like, yeah, the lack of sort of, I don't know, that bigger picture thinking from those CT surfers with so much on the line. Joe Alshianka, Al Cleland Jr., Griffin, Jack, as you mentioned, all out there sending it with work to do though, Smithy. And what's driving them is they just want to feel that joint. They want to feel like the power of it. They want to get amongst it. They want the waves of their lives, which Griffin spoke about a lot through the event. And it did serve them well, man, because all those surfers had major highlight moments in this event. Pulled out buzzer beaters and just sort of found their way all over the reef. And it was a real tale of like the difference between people who are capable of having a crack and people who love having a crack, wasn't it? Like the difference between those two, it might not be much, but it's the difference between that wave serving up the ultimate challenge and you having the gumption and the talent to ride it. Thought that was really evident from those warm-up sessions.
Absolutely. Best wave, Vaughan. So many to choose from in this event. A few favourites. Geordie's 9.5. The best single wave score he's ever had out there at 38 years young. Proven he's still at his absolute peak. It was a crazy one. He was so deep behind the foam ball. You kind of gave up on him. You couldn't even see him looking into the pit, but somehow holds on to get across the shocky for an incredible make and a very important heat win. Jack's 9.5 in the final, an inside ledge double up, out positions Griff in the tussle for that opening wave of the heat. Just identified a thick nug that looked like it was going to go under and hit that inside ledge. Got an easy entrance into it, and it just goes square, like the craziest chandelier on the end section, but it spat so hard, it just chundered him out into the channel. He got such a good line into it that you would have needed a wrecking ball to knock him off. There's just no chance. When he gets that good of a look at a pit, he's making it no matter what the ocean can throw at him. He is the Sharman. He has the read, and he cannot be matched. As long as there's waves of that quality and it's consistent, he can get a little bit done in slow heats, but on that finals day, it was consistent. There was plenty of opportunity, and he was just not going to be beaten in those kinds of conditions. A 9.5, incredible. Griff had a psycho 9.33. I think it was in his opening heat, which was one of the great clinics in just sending it. Al Cleland, Griff, and Connor O'Leary just going blow for blow in an old-fashioned AI, BI face plant to pick the rail out of the trough and just pulling off some miracle makes and also miracle wipeouts. So lucky no one got hurt. Al Cleland's fucking face plant at the start of that heat. Insanity. But Griff gets a 9.33 for it's just a big slow motion drainer that has that perfect west angle, kind of corners on the reef and runs off a little bit to really accentuate how big the end bowl was. It got a nice smooth entry into it, parked it, and the thing just fucking turned into a thermonuclear cement mixer on the west bowl. That was a sick one. Take your pick, mate. There's plenty more. Cole Hausch had a couple of nuts ones on the big day. Coley Vast. What was your favourite wave?
No leggy for Coley Vast.
Oh, how was
that?
Just
sending it. I know it's. Oh man, everything you said. I mean, some of the wipeouts were some of the most memorable waves from this comp too. The one where Zhao Xianka just comes off the bottom, Lake drops it, and just starts breakdancing on his board, doing backspins and stuff in the pit of this thing on Swellnet. There's a photo of that is as hectic and terrifying as you'll ever see, dude. Miguel Pupo going backwards over the falls, Baron Mamiya backwards over the falls, like wipeouts. You would just think, mate, these guys. What it looked like to me for that whole first day one was like, those little fish. They're little like bacteria cleaning fish that swim in the mouths of great whites and just chew all the detritus off their teeth. That's what it was reminding me of. And like half the crew were just swimming in and out, making it to the safety of the channel, and then every now and again the thing would just clamp and destroy people, bruh. Big blue barracudas with sharp teeth just munching the world's best surfers left, right, and centre. But yeah, I mean, every one of those waves, I thought Cole, Griff, Crosby, that San Clemente crew, geez, they were standing out in this comp, man. And I really backed Ethan on day one too. Like, he didn't get the biggest score of the day, but one of those waves he got in his first round heat was as big as anything that broke all day. It was like just sick. And I love that wave as well. In the women's, mate, like Molly's Molly's 9.77 to get through over Vahine. That was not only clutch, but just showed you how much more mature she's become in the last year. When Owen and I were talking about, Molly's campaign in this event, we were both worried that she'd lose herself in the need to charge and prove herself and push it over the ledge on waves she didn't need to. Well, this time it was just pure experience, calculated grit, and that was the moment for me that said this woman could be world champion this year. She's been so consistent, but that's the kind of thing you got to do if you want to back yourself into a world title showdown. And this will be a huge moment for her. That was my favourite wave of the women's, though.
Yeah, absolutely. Mine too. Unbelievable positioning on that one. She was, caught a little bit inside. There was a really hard day to figure out on that finals day. It was in between the inside and outside ledge, and you kind of have to duck between the two. Sometimes even wearing pretty psycho ones on the head. And on that occasion, she identified a big black lump looming on the horizon, sprinted out to meet it, spun and just hucked it into the trough. The bottom turn under the hook was so critical. Reminded me a lot of the Pipeline 10, actually. Very similar line and technique to draw a line in under the guillotine, and it just put her so deep and so late on the foam ball, blown out, best wave by a country mile in the women's, and the cherry on top of a performance that was absolutely peerless. Really, in the history of women's surfing, it's hard to think of a backside tube riding clinic that really comes close to what Molly produced in this event. She was incredible, and moving now into cloud break, she looks by far and away the best woman in the world in those kinds of conditions. Pacific, roping, left pits. She's going to take some beating. Incredible wave.
Yeah, and it's day and night between Molly and Katie and the rest of the field for backside tube riding. Like, their technique is insane. And Katie, like, man, oh man, like some of her backside tube riding, Smithy, like Molly charges and she's gritty and it looks like full of drama and her positioning, you almost can't fault it. But Katie still has that little bit of extra time, don't you reckon? Like, her technique's just a tiny bit more steezy. She's sort of leaning into the wave face a little more, like a bit more BI than it is sort of, I don't know, like Fanning or one of those guys who really learned to charge in those sorts of ways. Whereas, Katie's just got that thing. But Molly has got the energy. She's got the momentum. And now with 2 wins under her belt after a year that had a lot of highs and lows, despite the fact she was always in the top 3, she really took some hard losses this year. And now she's hit Fiji, and she's earned that right to wear that yellow singlet and earned the right to be backing herself as a favourite, which is exactly what you want her headspace to be. You don't want any noise in there for her. So it's going to be a big task for the other women in the top 5 to come up against Molly, who might just surf one heat to win the world title.
Yeah, it's a good call. Katie impressed me so much in this event. Yeah, she's just got that quick twitch, malleable body shape, able to really read it, get the good entry, the good lines, and really mold her body to the shape that the wave demands in a way that is unrivaled in the women's side of the draw. It's just that she's going to be coming from deep, 3rd in the world going into the final 5. So she's got to do that a little bit more surfing to get past Molly. Gabby first, then into the Molly heat. So it'll be so interesting, but far out. You'd love to see those two going head to head at roping cloud break. It is the only way.
Yeah,
it's the end that we deserve.
It's the world. It fully is. It's the world title showdown we deserve. Give it to us.
We've earned this. Give it to us.
Yes, you and me, Smithy. Us and the Swellian army. That's it. It's just us. But no, that's the rivalry everyone wants to see. And Gabrielle O'Brien is going to be a force in the next few years. She'll put herself in that combo as well. But right now, at this moment, on the backhand, at Cloudbreak for a world title, it's got to be Katie and it's got to be Molly in that final. Like, if the gods are smiling, and it looks like they are.
Yeah, best performance, no-brainer. It's Jack Robinson and Molly Pickle, and it's Jack first and foremost.
Yes.
It's simply incredible, his relationship with this wave and Pacific Thunder eggs in general. Tubes of all variety, frankly. But, his year has now been bookended by the biggest, craziest backdoor chamber we've pretty much ever seen in a contest. And now just the most clutch and cosmic victory again. Like, hard to think of one that really tops an event win like this, given how much was on the line. Had to win it to qualify for the final five, gets it done. And like just so much self-belief and pure love of the moment, love of surfing, love of this venue. Everything about it was pure love, love of his wife, love of his child. It was hard not to choke up and shed a tear in the post-heat interview that he gave. Just those scenes were unbelievable. He's such a cosmic character. I saw Snap 5 the other day. The final section in it is Jack Robbo, and it just told me what I kind of already knew, and that is that he's the best surfer in the world right now. Contest ratings may not necessarily suggest that, but there is no one in the world that has his connection with the ocean. The speed he generates frontside, his read backside, like it's peerless. It's amazing to watch. And mate, now he heads into the final five with a shot, and that's all he needs, as we saw from this event. Importantly, the win gave him a little jump start, so he's now fourth in the world. And yeah, fatigue's going to play a part coming from that deep. But let's not forget, this is a kid who grew up doing 8-hour super sessions on a cup of water at Tombstones, a very comparable wave to Cloud Break. He just loves moments like this. He's a fasting, he fasts. He knows how to tap into that deep cosmic John Peck energy and just ride energy and get high on that, get fed by vision. There's so little stress and cortisol, I notice, in these kind of situations for Jack. It's love, it's serotonin, it's like dopamine, it's good biochemistry. It's not the biochemistry that chews up your insides and wears you down over time. It's got a long tail on it. It's not the Italo variety of like pumping Red Bulls and the inevitable crash that's got to bring about, which it did in the last final five. He just tanked so hard going into the final, cost him dearly. But mate, Jack Robinson, what can you say about it, mate? What a freakish effort yet again.
Man, I mean, like, yeah, and the Vortex Sharman is called that for a reason. He is on a spiritual plane when the juice starts getting legit. Like when the ocean starts throwing orbs of just pure power, of just mortal consequence, and dare I say it, waves of total truth, Smithy.
So much truth.
That's the language that Jack Robinson speaks, because he doesn't really have a bone in his body that's not tuned in to that sort of ocean power. Like it is cosmic and it's cellular. Like it comes from some other place where nature is just, it's Taoism, man. It's no wonder. Like he's in that space of just being one with nature, and it's not even, it's beyond sort of like that world of trippy sort of like connectivity. It's just a living, breathing example of a human being completely at one with what is going on in the universe. And he taps into that. And yeah, I mean, it was funny. Again, like Owen and I were talking about Jack, and we were like, we reckon he'll win the comp. We both just said it, but in our like sort of headline, we were like, he probably will have, it'll be the other crew who dictate whether winning the comp is enough to get him through or not. And geez, they capitulated. It goes to show, like, surfing with the mindset of nothing to lose, just attack mode, as opposed to surfing with a defensive sort of mindset. Because Kanoa just completely and utterly melted. Ethan, for all of that, expertise that he brought to this lineup, it still felt like he was getting mowed down by Griffin and Jack, who were just on that come up, like riding the energy just into this final day. So grateful, man. So much happiness coming out of both those guys. And Jack said it in one of his post-heat interviews. I think it might have been the semis or maybe after, where he's like, yeah, man, I'm just being me. Just being free, bro.
Oh, mate.
What a line. Just being me. Just being free.
Unbelievable. Yeah. And
so good.
Mate, I hate to point this out, but it is the two master meditators who've risen to the fore at the pointy end when the pressure got at its most intense. And there's something in that. There has to be. These two guys are doing the mental training and connecting to this source energy, this sense of faith in whatever that force is. But there is something there that can be tapped into. And it was interesting chatting to Sean Manners in a recent episode of Call Lords, a guy who grew up in such close proximity to Jack. Their 1 year age difference, and they surf so much together. And even as children, he makes the point that Jack was just like a man already, like in waves of consequence at the box and elsewhere. He was just sprint paddling around, like just the paddle power of him and his read of the ocean, his feel for the ocean was already like he was, out surfing Yaden Nickel at Gas like he was a full-grown man, like he had fucking major video parts already, and this 11-year-old's lapping him. There is just, and there's a cosmic connection there, and a lot of it, you know what, it's built out of a simple thing like not going to school. Like he surfed all of those school years, which is rare. Like not many people get the opportunity to do that. And I'm reminded of a lot of the Indigenous kids you grow up playing football against. It's the same deal. They don't go to school, so they're just playing football at the park during them school hours, and they got the same kind of ghostly, like street style, like this, just a way of moving that is built out of a 10,000 hours it's achieved at such a young age, and a neural plasticity that is set in motion at such a young age. And but same with Jack and those kids, the set and setting has to be what they want. Otherwise, they don't necessarily perform to their peak potential. And Jack's dream setting is this. It is Pacific roping cones, and it just so happens that's exactly where we're headed next to decide a world title. So a remarkable climax on the cards. In the women's, Molly Pickle, by far and away the best female surfer in the world right now in big pits, and arguably on rail too. It's crazy what confidence has done for her. I don't know what they've done to achieve this hot streak that she's on her in micro, but what about it? Like, we saw last year, she went through kind of an Ilo Ferreira style fade out during parts of the season where she just looked like a shell of her former self. And, now she's at the polar opposite of that spectrum.
Yeah, and she's been through a lot of changes this year, man. I think last year was a huge learning curve for her, or at least a year to really like sit back in the off season and reflect upon what went wrong. And then even this year, she had to grit it out in typical Pickle style. Was watching everyone else get wins all around her. And even though she was making finals and getting up into the top sort of semis or better with every comp, it wasn't until she finally clicked over, got the win. Far out. Where was that, Smithy? Where did Pickle's win come from? Sorry, it's just eluded me, but it was late in the season because we were talking earlier in the year that it just felt like Katie had a number and she was performing at such a good level, but then also not getting over the top. And I saw her, as we were talking about at Margaret's, just really copping the loss hard. And I feel like maybe because she's separated from micro this year, so she's on her own program.
Is that right?
She's doing, yeah. She's been doing this year on her own, and I think that's just a coming of age decision. Like she's not a child anymore. She didn't want to travel with a chaperone. She's traveling with her boyfriend Austin, and it's just all clicked into gear at the perfect time, mate. And as we've said with Griffin, as we've said with Jack, and there's a couple of other exponents of it, just trust your processes. If your process is healthy and good and delivering you a feeling of satisfaction in your day-to-day life, then at some point, even if the results aren't there, like it wasn't for Griff, look at what he's turned that into just by having faith, man. And it feels like that's what it's clicked over with Molly. Like all year, she was just going, oh, I know I'm surfing good. I know things are on the right track. I'm just not quite where I wanted. And what that probably is the desire overwhelming the process. And so once you let go of that desire, and you don't let your ego sort of get in the way of it, all of a sudden things just open up. And that's why she's surfing the best she's surfed all year. She's getting the big wins. She's putting in start to finish performances that are elite. And she's getting crazy scores like across the entire campaign. So yeah, her decision making is just on point, man. It's an awesome thing to see someone develop in front of your own eyes like this. And I think Molly and Griff have been the best examples of that this year in terms of just locking into your process, having faith of what's going on, and look at the results just raining out of the heavens on them.
That event she won was in Brazil, the most forgettable event of the season.
There you go, bro. But that's late in the season. That's after the cuts. So,
Yeah. And so
yeah.
interesting too, like just the energy she's been carrying around ever since Abu Dhabi. It was the first I noticed of it. Just so much play and laughter and keeping it light. And even in this event, after winning the event, there was no like big emotional response. She was so calm. And I guess there's something in that. Like that's something I see in all the successful athletes is just a level of emotional regulation. Griffin, Jack, Molly, they're calm, casual operators. They're not getting caught up in these big adrenaline and cortisol spikes and screaming and carrying on. Like everything's so methodical. There's a very firm self-confidence and just a real lack of emotional dysregulation, which I think ultimately can just be a bit of a hindrance in the long run. It's, I guess, like a bit of evidence of being attached to the ego, where you're attached to your successes as much as you're attached to your losses, and that's just a bit of an emotional roller coaster that is not all that helpful.
Yeah.
When you're shooting for a world title. Mate, what do we got next? Best heat. So many melters in the men's side of the draw. The Mihimana Bray versus Yago Dora heat. Mihimana getting the win on the buzzer. That was crazy, just finding. I think he got 2 waves inside the last minute and one inside the last 10 seconds or something. A little kind of West Bowl chamber that got him the win. The Mihimana versus Griffin Colapinto. Was that the semi, I believe? Had about 10 lead changes in it. That was a crazy duke-a-thon for pure charging and pushing the limits of tube riding. The Griff Connor Al Cleland heat was one of my favorites. I got to give a shout out to Ethan Ewing and Seth Moniz. The elimination round heat, that was one of the grittiest performances I've seen Ewing put in. There was so much on the line for Ethan and so much mongrel in this performance from him. And geez, it looked good on him. And I just thought that this is the blueprint for Ethan moving forward. Like he holds that energy really well. He's known as this kind of a non-aggressive competitor. We've talked about it a bunch, like a guy who, doesn't like to force it. But sometimes that's what's required. And it's definitely what's required if you want to be a world champ. Nothing less will suffice. I just feel like in the past, he would have lost this heat. Seth is, if there's one place apart from Pipeline, you don't want to draw Seth. It's here at Chopes when it's big and coning. But yeah, he just fucking got it done. There was an amazing exchange around the 11-minute mark where I think Seth had waited an age with priority. He got an ARG, a 6, and then Ethan's on the very next wave. He ends up winning that exchange by a point, but importantly, kicks out of the pit, pumps his way to Seth's outside shoulder, and just fully rips into the most skits paddle battle. There was shades of Perkins and Hackett in the 1,500-meter Olympics final. Perkins coming from lane 6 to get the win. It was just so unreal to see Ethan flex some aggression, and he ended up just wiping the floor with Seth in the paddle battle. They were going arm to arm, overtook him, cut across him for the final shutout in the priority race, got priority, immediately drew an error from Seth, who ended up sniffing at one and going over the falls on the very next wave. There was still another priority error from Ethan, but ultimately that little exchange got him the win. But for me, Vaughn, it was the Ethan versus Griffin heat. The quarterfinal, I believe, with so much on the line. It went down to the wire. Both surfers pushing so hard. Griffin got a very deserved win, but Ewing, man, left nothing in the tank. That was an incredible performance from both surfers.
Yeah, that was my favourite too. I thought the silver lining for Ethan Smithy is kind of another thing that Owen alluded to and that Mick Fanning talks about a lot. And that's like you start your world title campaign on the tail end of the year before. And I think discovering that mongrel and that grit and getting into the arm wrestle a little more and not just sitting out there and hoping the ocean's going to decide your fate. It does look good on Ethan. And I feel like that's going to be something he'll tap into going into next year, because this one would sting, dude. missing out on cloud break, like having your spot there and then being leapfrogged by a couple of guys is gonna hurt like hell, dude. And I reckon that is hopefully gonna bring that little bit more mongrel into his competitive act, because so many times we've seen him sit out there and just not surf heats and let heats he shouldn't have lost just pass him by. Whereas, the Vortex Sharman, as well as being absolutely like spiritual in this sort of surf, he loves competing, man. He absolutely loves competing. He's not out there going, this is my job, and like I'll just do this as part of my, career. He loves it as much as he loves rinsing that dot on, 3-story chopes, West Bowls. So I think Ethan needs to get into the game and love the game a little bit more. And it feels like this is going to be the moment. This could be the telltale moment where he goes from world champ competitor, or, a guy with the potential to get there. This could be the fire, because it just feels to me like he's way too good in every condition now to just let these moments slip by. It just can't happen again.
He's entering such a similar period of his career to Mick. Mick, exactly like Ethan, their styles, their technique is similar. They're from a similar part of the world, and it wasn't until the latter part, or the middle to latter part, that Mick started to rack up world titles, and it was all on the back of getting comfortable at chopes and pipeline. And that's exactly the way Ethan's tracking. I dare say, as we corner on pipe and chopes next year, that like he's going to be hungry. He's going to really want a big result at those waves. And I think he's now got the comfort and the technique and the understanding and the hunger to get that. So full credit to him for putting in the work. And that is a blueprint that Mick has laid out for all Australians, particularly from the Gold Coast. And I mean, D'Souza's another classic example. He borrowed from that Mick handbook and eventually got himself a world title. So I think Ethan is tracking really well. Let's have a quick look at that heat for the Griffin versus Ewing quarter, because there was some incredible surfing in it. Griff opening up with an 8.43 for just an absolutely perfect depiction of how to ride an inside chopes wave. I just love the way he glided over the ledge effortlessly and set his line. He had so much control and such a good look at the shape of the wave and where he was going. He could just wipe off speed and get the creamiest, most controlled foam ball jockey ever. That thing was nuts. Like, just the level of control, like to be able to park it and sit on the foam ball and get the make. It's like he manufactured drama in a kind of Slater-esque way, but it was all about his entry over the ledge, the look he had at it, just the amount of control and speed, and he can just go wherever he wants at that point on the wave. It was a clinic. He backed it up under Ewing's priority with a first ledge west bowl, bit onshore. But the thing about those onshore ones is that it seemed to just suck more air in and blow out even harder, because this thing just went square and absolutely chundered him out, spit right out of it, like, bah! To quote the great Californian viral sensation. Ewing opened his account at the 10-minute mark in spectacular fashion. He got in a bit late over the ledge, a different approach to Griffin. And I guess like right there in that approach, you get to see the difference in their levels, because Ethan gets in a bit over the ledge. The thing drew super hard. He had to let go of the rail and get this insane pump to make a super deep one. I think that was a 7.17. He backed it up with a 6.50 for an inside nug under priority. Crazy how the rhythm changed hands so quickly. And after waiting an age to open up his account, Ethan is immediately in rhythm and surfing himself into just a strong position purely by catching waves. And it was a bit frustrating at times in this event to watch people sit on that top ledge, needing only small scores to progress. I think the Pickle had a similar situation to this against Vahine Fierro for maybe 2/3 of the heat, where there's those inside West Bowl ones going so square, offering up a lot of waves north of 5, potentially even up around a 7 and an 8. But like, because they're up further on that top ledge, they're not even seeing him. But yeah, ultimately comes down to the buzzer, and Ewing, mate, what an effort this was. He was so deep on
Yeah.
this thing, gets a big Hail Mary pump into a long, stretched out onshore chamber, gets swallowed by the foam ball, somehow manufactures a make, gets dry docked on the inside. Had shades of that CJ Hobgood glitch cone
It did.
10 from back in the day. Just didn't quite get as deep or as clean of an exit. Needed a 9.59. Came in, well under the requirement, but an impressive performance, man. I was so stoked for him.
Oh, me too. And a little bit of heartbreak, but it always ends on the rocks when you give it everything, doesn't it? You always end up getting some like gooned over the reef there. And yeah, I mean, for Ethan, like everything was left on the table. There's not, if that wave had somehow bent round on the west bowl a little more and sort of like coughed its way open and he had a dramatic exit like through a clean open tunnel, you never know what the judges might have thrown at it because it did have glitch cone written all over it, didn't it? But yeah, no, he had to just cop the defeat there, Smithy. And like I say, man, I think reflecting on this year is going to be a pretty important one for Eth. Like he should be there in Fiji, really, but he didn't get an event win, and I think that he'll use this sort of like disappointment and the understanding of the fight to build a really incredible world title campaign in 2026. And that is something that just, I mean, even with the WSL finals literally a week away, Smithy, like that's something to salivate over, man, like this 2026 season, especially with the reconfiguration and the new system or the old system, Back to the Future. It's going to be a fun year to be an Ethan Ewing fan.
Absolutely. In the women's, it was hard to split between the Gabby Bryan, Aaron Brooks super heat. That was a cracker. And then the Pickle, Vahine, Fierro heat in the quarters. I went with Pickle and Vahine purely on account of how good the tube riding was in this one. So elite. Pickle, look, obviously a hugely important heat for her for seeding in the final five. And she couldn't have been more up against it in the form of the local matriarch, Vahine, who's frontside as well, which, you might have said was an advantage before this heat, but not after it, because Pickle produced one of the great waves ever by a female at this wave, as we mentioned at the top of the program. The heat went like this, Vaughan. Molly opened up a comedy of errors to start, which she's going to have to rectify going into cloudy. There was poor positioning, poor wave selection. She slipped off her board in the tube multiple times for some heavy wipeouts and a horror start. She was actually lucky not to get hurt. I also saw signs, as I mentioned, of a strategic meltdown of the kind that cost her the final at J-Bay. She's surfing perfect 6-foot chopes and heading into the last 2 minutes, only needed a 4.17 to take the lead. There was so much opportunity, as I said, on that inside ledge. Any of those smaller west ones would have been the score. But, as it turns out, stuck to her guns and it paid off very richly. Vahine also struggled for rhythm at times in this heat. She ended up coughing up a crucial priority error on a nothing wave that gave Molly a crack at the filthy nug that ended up being the 9.77 at the 2-minute mark. But yeah, incredible. The 9.77 just sees the thing going black on the horizon, sprint paddles out to meet it, spins and hucks herself in the trop, gets the miracle bottom turn, gets the make. Vahine's on the very next wave and has a really good look at a makeable pit, but can't get an exit. She just got tangled up. Oh, well, sorry, I should say, she got tangled up in the foam ball, but she's going to be tangled up in her Mozzie net playing bed karate for weeks after that, because that was a make. She had to get the make on that thing. I don't know what happened.
Dude, just sometimes it happens. Same thing happened to Baron Mamio. Like he's surfing for a spot in the top 5, and he was on a regulation just come through. I've seen him wrestle foam balls 1,000 times gnarlier, but he was just a bit too on his front foot, and over he goes. And there was a few of those throughout this event, man. And I think it's just cosmic comeuppance somewhere along the line. The Chopes just went. It's not so much a comeuppance as it is a reward. Sorry for the crew who really wanted it and deserved it, because whether it was Geordie's last minute buzzer beater, Al Cleland had a sick one in one of his elimination round heats. People who just wanted it got the bickies, and on this occasion it was Molly's day, and it was a sick one, bro. But yeah, Vahine, I wonder what happened there. The wave called the shot, Smithy.
It did indeed. The Golden Scorpion Award for the worst wipeout of the event, Vaughan. I tossed up. There was a few. Cleland's face plant on one of the biggest waves of the entire event was psychotic. Zhao Chianka's breakdancing maneuver, as you pointed out, in the guts of an 8-footer was also insane. But for me, it has to be countryman Miguel Pupo in round one. Full credit to Miguel for the send on this thing because it had an evil double up ledge on it that, like, oh, mate, that thing would have looked terrifying as it was steaming into that back ledge. But the Brazilian Jerry Lopez, he sacked up and he sent it anyway. He digs his toe side rail right up near the nose on the drop and almost pulls it. Ultimately, though, he just hangs on long enough to put him in the worst possible position where the West Bowl corners and fully unloads. I mean, the dude's got like 7 kids or some shit. I'm not like, I'm sure that's not what his wife wants to be seen on the telly. I'm not sure what the single parent Centrelink payment is like in Sao Paulo, but I hope he's got a good life insurance policy for the Groms, old Miguel. He's a fucking nutcase. Ends up just getting unbelievably flexed. Sometimes if you hold on for that long and end up, falling halfway down the face and just getting fucking cartwheeled into oblivion, it's almost worse falling frontside than backside. And he looked worse for wear after this wipeout. Interesting to note, though, Vaughn, of all the horrific beatings on that first day, I don't remember any serious injuries. And yet, since
madness, that occurred to me too.
Yeah, and yet since being in Indo, the amount of serious injuries I've been shown via photo of people on like 4-foot kind of dry little tubes getting like just blasted into dry rocks. It's been like, I reckon I've seen 20 like scalpings, so much gnarly reef action, broken femurs. So it just goes to show like the big sands, after putting your time in and getting to that cosmic level, are actually infinitely safer than little rock runners.
Yeah. I was absolutely baffled that no one got fucking completely detonated out there. Like, there were wipeouts that you were dead set holding you, like, just cringing watching in real time, like just heart in mouth kind of stuff. And somehow, like, no one getting hurt. And even Katie did on that last day where she got caught inside and copped a serious 12 to 15 foot closeout right on that apex where the West Bowl and the South Peak just run into each other. It looked like the end section at Margie's. And, you're not just getting washed on the table. You are literally getting washed over razor blades of petrified lava, dude. And I was just like, how? How are these surfers doing it? And the only thing I can put it down to is that thing that pro skateboarders have, where they can like jump off a 3-story building, hit the concrete and just roll out of it. They've just got that innate knowledge of how to wipe out properly, regardless of where the wave puts them. And in comparison, your average everyday surfer can put themselves in an absolutely ridiculous situation on a 4-footer and cop a board to the head or a fin to the fucking knee or a meeting with the bottom that can cause a lifelong injury. And that's all I can put it down to, man, because there's no explanation for what we saw in terms of the carnage, the wipeouts over there that should have resulted in at least a couple of surfers properly getting maimed. You don't want to see it, but surely that's what it is, right? It's just knowing where to be and how to fall.
Yeah, and just way more water on the reef and it breaking a little bit further back on the reef, I think, is also critical to it. Breakthrough performance, yeah. So there you go, Golden Scorpion winners, Katie Simmers and Miguel Pupo. Well,
congratulations.
The breakthrough performance, as I mentioned, Ewing cracking the quarters, his best result there, went down swinging. Geordie getting his high single wave score out there before getting smoked by Cowley Vast, the gold medal winner in the round of 16. But for me, it was hard to split Crosby, Colapinto, and me, Martin Bray. Crosby edged out the gold medalist and local Coley Vast, who had to be like, a favourite to win this event. That was the quarterfinals, and it was one of the heats of the event, both putting up huge numbers. He was on fire, Crosby, so full of commitment. Ended up losing to Jack Robbo in the semis, but a huge performance. And then, local wildcard, me, Martin Bray, going all the way to the semis, knocked out the world number 1, Iago Dora, in spectacular fashion, and Cole Hauschman, who was dominating on the big day. He was exceptional in the juice. Exceptional. Yeah. Exceptional barrel.
Yeah, and I'll give a little doff to Kalia Galena too, the 12-year-old little pipe charger who got a wild card, didn't get major scores or get to really showcase what she's capable of out there. But what an experience, man. And I literally was at a surf movie premiere in Uluwatu last night, just kids everywhere. And when you look at a 12-year-old in like, these groms are watching a surf movie full of grommets, and you go, hang on a minute, there was a kid this age surfing Chopu against the world's best. Like, whether it's right or wrong, pretty unbelievable thing to see. And yeah, I got to doff that. It was man, it was a little I don't know what it is, but like the Olympic skateboarding is just full of 12, 11, 12, 13-year-old girls, and there's just this whole generation on the back of the Steph, Carissa, and now the Katie and Molly legacy that are already wanting to do what those women are doing. It's incredible, man.
Mm-mm. Biggest surprise, mate, it was Jack Robbo getting it done. I mean, having to win a contest to crack the final five is such a ludicrous scenario that I thought it was even beyond the powers of the great Vortex Sharman. How wrong I was. I lost the faith, Fawn. I lost the faith, and I never will lose the faith again. What a win. One of the greatest wins ever of his career, at least. Interesting to note, too. He won an event to keep his spot on tour at Mexico in his rookie year, and now he's won one to claim his rightful spot in the top five. And how many times has he done it at this venue? He got Yago twice, didn't he, in almost identical circumstances to qualify for the final five, coming from deep in the pack. He just thrives when his back is up against the wall. There's another level there that he goes to.
I just can't believe any of us doubted that he was going to make it. Like, he seemed like such a long shot going into this. I hadn't even really considered. I knew he'd go well in the comp, but the mathematics required for him to leapfrog. How many people did he leapfrog in the end? Like, he must have leapfrogged 6 or 7 people to get in there on the back of that win. And with the benefit of hindsight, you're like, yeah, why wouldn't he do that if the surf's absolutely throbbing and he's out there just in that I'm being free phase. Like, there's no question. And now, he's going into Fiji just every chance. Like, think about the last few world title shots he's had, mate, where he's had to go and what he's had to surf and the headspace he's had to try and manufacture to feel in the zone at a place like Trestle, surrounded by the American machine. Like, we've said it a million times when we've watched those events and seen him performing in them. Because I don't think he's ever won a heat in the WSL Final Five scenario. He's been in 3 of them, and it was never that surprising to you and me, Smithy, because it just doesn't feel like where the Sharman should be doing his best surf. And as much as he is capable, how rattled did he look in some of those heats? It looked like he was sort of manufacturing this energy to compete. There was a heated paddle battle with Italo one year, and it just felt like he was out of his natural zone, didn't it? Like, he was like the king of the jungle, like a lion, but he was in the fucking San Diego Zoo instead of like roaming the plains of the Serengeti.
Mate, that's exactly right.
But
he just
dude,
looks so flustered and out of his element there.
Yeah, and now he's going from one Pacific heavy water reef to another. And this thing, mate, pray for swell, Smithy. God, we need it, man. But biggest surprise, best story, like, biggest breakthrough by a million miles. That was a phenomenal campaign to get in there.
Yeah, absolutely. And in the women's, big surprise, nothing really leapt out at me, but maybe Gabby Bryan getting the nod over Erin Brooks in that superheat. We haven't seen a whole lot of Gabby in big Pacific pits. She's from Kauai, and they've definitely got him there, so that's got to help. She looked a bit sketchy at times, but the tenacity and the grit was there, and she got the job done against an absolute tube riding specialist in Erin Brooks in the kinds of conditions that could not have suited Brooks better. It was a cracker heat, and Gabby's 8.87 on her last wave might be the best wave of her season, right when she needed it. Grabs the rail on the drop, realizes she's too deep and needs to get a pump and reset her line, has a full death wobble. She tried to do that. They could have ended so badly, but manages to keep it together. A 6 to 8 footer Pacific is towering over her, reconnects with the rail, gets the line right, gets blown out of it for the 8.87 and the win.
Yeah, it was cool. As I said earlier, like, night and day between the not so much the intent, there was a few women really going at it in that comp, but no one came close to the technique and the understanding backside, especially of Molly and Katie. But the good thing for Gabby is like confidence is a bizarre thing, man. Like the way and the amount you can improve just on the back of a single wave like that. That's going to give her a lot to be stoked about heading over to Fiji. Like she won't just be, oh, I've got to work on my backside tube riding. She's like, wow, I just got the best wave of my life at Chope. So there's no reason I can't do that again in Fiji. So yeah, it's a nice little confidence boost for Gabby, and I thought that was pretty cool.
Absolutely. Pure melt
Wonder
form.
what's going on with the dog though, eh? She separated
Yeah.
from the dog pound.
Mate, good question. I was going to raise that earlier. That
Yeah.
is insane to me. I mean, the dog has been in control of the three most improved surfers on the World Tour this year. Leo Fioravanti had a melter, a good kind of melter. And Conor O'Leary obviously won his first event. Gabby Bryan won that event. He's off the back
She's won 3 events.
Yeah.
She's won 3 events this year, yeah.
And a unicorn. Famously, Dog Marsh getting the unicorn in that event. Male and female winner. It's like so rare. I can't imagine what's caused that split. It's a bizarre move at the most critical point of the season. You just don't need that kind of distraction right now, do you?
Well, we'll do what we always do and go real hard in the lead up to the WSL finals. We'll start talking to coaches. We'll start talking to athletes where we can get them, and we'll get to the bottom of all this, mate, because there's plenty to talk about in the lead up to it. That's for sure.
Pure melt, Vaughn, mate. Puckered Phil rears his smelly asterix again. Gee, it's getting harder and harder to watch. The asterix is just getting bigger and more high res, more pungent and more prickly the more this goes on. I think he needs to do a full devotional pilgrimage to a string of the world's best lefts. Start at Deserts, head to Vuis at Cronulla, back to No Can Do's, then post up at Chopes for a 3-month surfing and meditation retreat until he figures out how to put himself under one of these things. Listening to Griffin commentate one of his waves to Cote in the post-heat interview was one of the most humiliating and patronising moments in pro surfing. That was the one wave that Philippe kind of got where he finds himself woefully out of position, ends up doing this sketchy airdrop, which he somehow pulls out of just, the pure skill that he's got, gets a stand tall pocket ride, and Griffin is kind of laughing and going, well done, well done, well done. It reminded me of a father watching a young child learning to walk. It was not the kind of commendation you want from one of the world's grittiest tube riders. Jeez, he's just awful at.
I think the airdrops were telling, man. Whenever you kind of half-hearted paddle into a wave, you airdrop. Like that's it. There's very few people that are airdropping on purpose, or if they are, you can see them project what they're doing because they won't paddle. They'll just let the wave suck them up. Like Noah Dean, for example. Like guys who surf slabs will sometimes just do the no paddle airdrop so that they can just knife it straight off the bottom into the pit. But there was none of that. That was just like heart in mouth. Like you could feel the terror. Ugh. And it is hard to watch because, you feel for, I just was putting myself in that scenario going, oh, I know that feeling. Like I fully know that feeling where you turn around, you kind of going, but you're not going. And that's the position you find yourself in. And luckily, just because his skill is at a level where he could make those little drops and get that kind of a bit of a chandelier moment. Like he's got a photo, he's got a perso for his wall on a decent sized Chopes pit, and he's got a fair bit of steez going on in that little moment too. I don't know if he's joking or what, but it's not a bad sort of image, but it's a lie. Like, you know what I mean? Like he needs to do what you said. It's like ring up Jamie O'Brien, ring up Bruce Irons, ring up freaking Molly Pickle him if you need to, man. Go and get some understanding of like what it's going to take to surf these waves because the skill is there. There's no question. It's just like get over that fear thing because that's the only roadblock here.
Yeah, and the airdrop happens when you don't want to put yourself behind it. And I've watched a bunch of tape of Phil at this wave, and he just refuses to take off behind it. It's so weird. Like in some of his kind of earlier performances there, he's like that same line. He's kind of taken off wide, airdropping, trying to snap into the pit off the west bowl and almost getting dry docked. Like he's just doesn't want to
Yeah.
sit up the top of the reef, put himself under that amount of ocean and put himself behind it. And look, everyone else has done it, man. Mick's done it. Ethan's done it. Griffin's done it. D'Souza's done it. Like, if you want to be considered in that echelon of surfer, you got to put your time in at these waves. You just have to. There's no way around it. The only way is through it, Vaughn.
That's right. That's right, Smithy. But my biggest melt was Kanoa by a country mile. Like, here he is sitting in third place. Just make a couple of heats. He's done it before out there. We know he's fearless. It just felt like the weight of the world was compressing him into a tally-ho, like just tiny piece of sashimi. I was just like, mate, what happened? What happened to him? It was a melt of one of the biggest I've seen for a guy where he was and where he's positioned. I know he had local heats and stuff, but oh, geez, I was feeling for the snake. They had a pretty public meltdown during one of his heats, you know, like where they were both sort of yelling at each other. And wow, they're that, you know, coach killers. You hear that a lot, that saying in football. And I think that performance and the wave choices, it just wasn't there. And I guess that is kind of like the story of his year. It was earmarked with a couple of moments, but if you look at this top five, Smithy, the one difference between the guys in it and the guys who aren't in it is that the guys in that top five have numerous moments that you'll go back in if they win the world title and go, that was epic. That was incredible. That was amazing. And Kanoa, to me, just didn't have any.
Yeah.
Couple of waves at J-Bay, couple at Bells. That's about it.
Totally. Yeah. A couple at Burley. And that coach killer spray, it's an interesting dynamic in surfing because unlike, you know, other sports, team sports, namely where the coaches drop players, in surfing, the player drops the coach. So we'll see how that pans out.
Isn't that weird, man? And it's a real fine line you're walking, isn't it? Because the coach has to be level-headed and just be delivering the information that's going to bring out the performance. But pro surfers are famously not that great with getting hard truths, bro. There's been many a coach sacked after a one-event run as coach. I can tell you that much.
I'll tell you, it didn't melt. White chocolate. What a performance from the big man. I feel like the white chocolate, he must have showed up at Chopes cryogenically frozen to withstand that tropical heat and the Pacific thunder eggs because he stayed rock hard, calm, cool, and collected to put on maybe his best performance at this wave. Bodes well for Cloudbreak.
Yeah. But I mean, if I'm Yago and Geordie, who are by far and away the centerpiece of chat surrounding this year's tour heading into Chopes, like, mate, Griff and Jack have just stuck their straws in Yago and Geordie's Mojo smoothies and just slurped all the energy out of the things, mate. Because imagine if you're Geordie and Yago, right? You're number 1 and 2 in the world. If you looked at the top 5, say it had stayed the way it is. You go Kanoa, Ethan, and Italo. Like, replace Kanoa and Ethan with Jack and Griff. Dude, that is your worst nightmare. That's the one scenario you don't want happening heading into Fiji. And, no disrespect to Kanoa or Ethan because, you know, both guys could easily do damage over there. But Jack and Griffin are just so hot right now, Smithy. So hot. Man, like, and their momentum and I think what you were saying earlier about their headspace, that's just as terrifying as what they can do in the water over there. Like, knowing that those two are going to be coming through the draw, they're not going to be looking, I don't think, at, you know, each heat and the scenarios and what they've got to do. They're going to be over there, if it's big, just going, oh, I just want to surf. That's terrifying for Yago and Geordie. Because I feel like it's theirs to lose, and the two guys are underneath them, God knows what they're capable of bringing. And Italo, he's just a wild card, man. He could do anything on the day. We got no idea what he's capable of. He's just such a rando name to have in there. And, you know, he did enough to get in there, and good on him because far out the start of the year, you were just going, this guy is going to run away with this world title or at least finish in the gold jersey by midway through. Wheels fell off, and to his credit, he's done enough to sort of get himself back in the frame, and he can start from scratch in Fiji as well.
Yeah, Yeah, in a lot of ways, it's the ideal position for Griff and Jack, and in some ways, Italo. When no one's expecting you to win, the pressure's off, and that's why you see elite sportsmen always trying to claim that underdog status. And you can just kind of visualize psychologically how that's going to pan out for Griffin and Jack. It's an ideal situation to be confronted with roping Pacific cones and just the pure like the pure canvas to express yourself without too much pressure you know, that mentality too. Like Jack loves that. Oh, everyone's counting me out. He loves that narrative. He loves feeding himself that. It fires him up. I imagine Griffin's very similar. And, you know, to be honest, it was a savvy move by the WSL to rejig that last surf off, because when you're coming from deep and there's no pressure on you and you're building momentum, that's a fucking nightmare for the surfer in first place.
Big time.
Yeah, so it has balanced out now where obviously Yago can win it with one heat, and I'm expecting Jack or Griffin to be in that heat.
Yeah, and I'm completely agree. And I just feel like also, like, imagine being Yago in number one, pumping Cloudbreak. And these guys love surfing. Like, they want to be out there, but not being able to surf until you get to your world title heat. After a day of watching, you know, Griff get nines or Italo get nines or Jack get tens, whatever it's going to be. That's a massive, like, Achilles heel, I feel. If you love surfing, you just want to be out there surfing, especially a goofy, mate. No, they would say they love lefts. They'll find a left at fucking J-Bay and try and get a little hit in. But spare a thought, Smithy, as we head into this WSL Final Five for Leandro Dora, mate. The guy who might have to be the architect of his own son's demise. Wow. And the Yago Jack story is so out of control. Like, you think about how that's been simmering along and building, and how much each other has destroyed each other's dreams throughout the years. It's wild crazy scenario playing out there.
Oh, that is so crazy. And yeah, you can imagine Yago, just the pure surf in him is going to die inside if he just watches the lads drain cone after cone through the early morning kind of sheet glass, light offy cloud break, and then he gets the fucking windblown trades, like howling cross off shit. He'll be dying. But just aside from that, the nervous energy of watching someone get a head of steam through those early rounds and not being able to surf, not like, just, that's a horrible place. Like the cortisol, the stress, the mind pollution. There's no wonder Carissa Moore had such a difficult time in that Final Five scenario. Now I think about it.
Oh, and this is 1,000 times worse because the surf's going to be barreling. So add 6 to 8 to 10 foot tubes in the mix and watch yourself just deflate. The inner core lord just deflate into, like, you know, wet lettuce by the end of it. You'll be doing well to hold your kneecaps together. They'll just go that weak at the thought of, you know, just watching your opposition get drained all morning. It's going to be wild, dude. Wild. I can't wait.
Yeah, and quickly pure melt in the women's. Nothing too obvious to me, but maybe Katie Simmons just got absolutely smoked in the final. She did pack a possible 10. Sick knife, like, but clearly too deep, out of position on the drop. Never really looked like making it, in my opinion. 17.27 for Pickle versus 4.94 for Simsy is a huge hiding and not the ideal lead into cloud break, but I don't think she'll be too phased.
Nah, I think for me, I think for Isabella Nichols, this will be a hard one. I wouldn't say she melted, but because she did get a couple of pretty cool waves in this comp, but she surfs so well. She's the most improved surfer on tour for me, men's or women's. This year, she put in performances at Bells and J-Bay that I was stunned a bit on, man. Like, she hit the lip on a couple of proper 8-footers at J-Bay that just scorched my mind. I felt like she'd done enough to be there, but, you know, obviously not. And then for Tyler, just such a bummer, man. Like, I felt like she was just building beautifully after kicking off the whole year with a win. Yeah, we'll see what happens there. But all in all, you know, not huge melts, as you say.
Yeah, and for Isabella, much like Steph, much like Toledo, like, it's just the way that surfing goes, that if you don't want to put the time in to get well-rounded, you're going to be brutally exposed, and there's only so far that your career is able to go. It's going to hit a ceiling at some point. Steph was fortunate in the fact that Chopes wasn't on tour for a lot of that time. But, Isabella now has to confront these kind of roping Pacific lefts.
Yeah.
So, look, we have so many waves of such a technical variety in Australia. There is no excuse for not being proficient backside in the tube. So, mate, just, put your time in, get it done. You're good enough.
For sure.
What does it
What's
all
it all
mean,
mean,
Vaughan?
Spivvy?
Yeah, well, the final five's locked in. Yago, Geordie, Griffin, Jack, Italo Ferreira for the men. In the women, Molly Picklum. In first, Gabby Bryan, Katie, Caroline Marks, and Betty Lou Secura Johnson. What do you make of it all? How do you like the look of it, Vince Corn?
I'll tell you what it all means. It means that the Swellian armies will be stuck to the Sharman and stuck to the Pickle like limpets on a rock, brother. Get the crowbars out. You won't peel them off. They're going to be cheering and screaming and going mad for a couple of gritty Aussies, absolute weapons who have been surfing so incredibly well this year. For Jack, imagine capping a Bells win and a Chopes win with a world title. It's got that kind of magic sort of feel to it that a world title campaign should have. They're two of the all-time events. Bells really is sort of the Wimbledon of surfing, and Chopes is far out. It is just the mecca for a guy who taps in like him. Molly found that winning rhythm, man. Got 2 wins on the board in a year that has been all hers, really. And it's just as good as it gets going in, man. Great rivals in there as well. But for the Swellian army, this is all about the Sharman and the Pickle, mate. Let's get on board.
Absolutely. And a nice spread of goofs versus natural footers. The women's side of the draw, for me, is just so fascinating. I can't wait to see the various approaches to this wave. Cloudy really suits where their surfing's at. It's such a doable wave. It's not super ledged out, but there are ledgy ones. It really depends on the read. Can't wait to see that opening heat, even Betty Lou and Caroline Marks, backside versus frontside. Italo versus Jack. First heat of the men's, holy smokes, frontside versus backside approach.
Yeah.
That heat's going to be insane. I'm absolutely salivating at the prospect. August 27 is the start of the waiting period through to September 4.
Come on, Huey.
7 days just to get just a half day is all we need, isn't it? So you're surely going to get something in that 6 to 8 foot range.
Oh, give it to us. And, mate, just finally, before we bail, in the BLITZED Pure Tour Nerdism Fantasy League, this is our last event of the year. Don't know if the fantasy extends into the world title battles. It might. I'll find out before we announce our overall winner. But the $100 voucher from the Boncron is for the Grey Ghost, mate. The Grey Ghost took it out over Morgs, the Grittiest Grom, and Drazzo. So no prizes for second or third. Sorry about that, Morgs and Draz, but the Grey Ghost got it done at Chopes. Oh, what a great year. Big thanks to the Bong for supporting us. And, mate, far out, Smithy. Good stuff, brother. What a comp.
Good. Up the Strayans, up the Swellians. Let's go.
Hey, shout out to Harry Grant and Tyron Wishart, who played an incredible game of rugby league last night against the Panthers. Maybe game of the season. Did you watch it?
Mate, I watched the first half. You've just ruined it for me. Fuck.
Oh! Did I
good.
ruin it for you, though? Did I ruin it for you?
We'll see.
It's game of the season. But I wanted to say both those guys got in touch. This is why I'm giving them a shout-out. And we're just frothing on the Aussies making the final five. So a couple of hardcore Swellians playing for the Storm, getting it done after what a game. Yeah, you'll be frothing, mate. Definitely no spoilers here.
Mental. All right, mate. Till next time.
Yes, baby.
Competition surfing. Rashes. Oh, yeah. Baby, I can't get enough. BLITZED. Ain't that so presents
Pure Tour Nerdism.